Everyone has their own preferences for which workspace they prefer to work in. Luckily, Storyboard Pro has a number of presets which can help you jump between as you work. Let's take a look at the different options, and I'll share with you which workspace I prefer, which just so happens to be the one that's in front of you. The default workspace is the timeline workspace. So as we look at these options up here, the second icon, the one with the treble clef, is the one for timeline. Timeline workspace, the only difference between this and most of the other ones is this area down here, where I can adjust and edit my timeline and actually see things as I'm playing it. The first icon is the drawing workspace. It's pretty much the same, except it just has large thumbnails on the bottom instead of a timeline. The third option we have is our overview. Now, the overview is actually a pretty cool workspace because in this, you can see the thumbnails of your entire sequence, and then you can just scrub through them. But this way, you can get a real quick overview of what everything is looking like. Now, you can't draw on the panels, and there's no access to the individual layers you're drawing in, but this is sometimes helpful to take a look at. Our next option is our horizontal workspace. Now, this looks more like a classic animation storyboard. You can draw on the panels, but they are smaller. It's good for quick thumbnails to see how things are working out. You still have access to your different layers and all the text and dialogue under them. The one beside that is our vertical workspace, and this is more like live action. I don't know why, but live action tends to stack them vertically, and animation tends to stack them horizontally, just the industry standards. Again, you can draw on the panels, and your layers are there, but it is a bit small to actually be doing any real work in. Our next option is our pitch mode workspace. And when we click on that, you'll see that's the one that's most different. This is set up for when you're pitching your board to executives and other people on your team. It's got the largest area to draw in. And generally, you're not actually doing finished work in here, but you can draw on it. But what happens is, let's say, on this panel, I want to make a note. I suggest that you use the red color as you're making notes because red will pop out. So maybe I want to make some sort of note on there, draw in the arrow, or, if I want someone else standing here to the side. When I close it, and this closed door icon over here, exit pitch mode, is the biggest thing to remember because it doesn't look like any other program or any portion of this program. When I exit out of it, you'll notice, let's go to our timeline. Notice the notes are on there, and it added automatically this comments layer, which is cool because all I have to do is turn it off, and it doesn't affect the rest of my artwork. But I can always see what came up during my pitch. Next to pitch mode, here we see our PDF view workspace. This looks a lot like the horizontal view. It's really no difference. And our last workspace is our 3D workspace. So the default here is stage view, camera view, and top view. You can also add a side view to it. So any of you who are used to working in any kind of 3D environment know that you need to be able to see from the top and from the side, as well as what the camera is seeing in order to move things around in a 3D space. We can do the same thing in Storyboard Pro when you're working in a 3D scene. I have to always go back to my timeline. This is the way I prefer to work. It really doesn't matter which one you like to work in. You'll find that the one that you do the most work in, you'll probably never move from it unless you're doing a 3D scene or doing a pitch.